Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to dig into a story you think you know, the origin of money. It's a tale that's in pretty much every economics textbook, but as we're about to find out, the truth is way more fascinating than the fiction. You've probably heard the story a million times, right? It all starts in this world, way back when, without any coins or cash. A world where trade was direct, personal, and, as the story goes, a complete mess. It all kicks off with one very simple idea. Barter.
Okay, so let's really get into this classic story, the one we all learned in school. The idea is, before money, if you wanted something, you had to trade for it directly with goods or services. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, it turns out there was a massive problem. And the great Adam Smith himself, the father of modern economics, he's the one who really laid this all out. He came up with this term, the double coincidence of wants. It sounds super academic, but it's actually a really simple and super frustrating problem.
I mean, think about it. It's a total logistical nightmare, right? The butcher wants bread, but the baker, he wants beer. So without something in the middle, without money, that trade just dies. It can't happen. So the solution, or so the story goes, was to invent this universal thing everyone could agree on.
So there you have it, the textbook version, all clean and tidy. Step 1, barter is a mess. Step 2, people get sick of it. Step 3, bam, someone has a brilliant idea and invents money. It's such a neat little story, isn't it? It makes perfect sense. Or does it?
Okay, but what if that whole neat and tidy story is just wrong? What if money wasn't invented to solve the problem of barter at all?
Yeah, you heard that right. It's a myth. After decades of actual anthropological research, the conclusion is stunningly clear. That whole story, the one about a barter economy leading to the invention of money, it's just not true.
And this isn't some wild fringe theory we're talking about here. Listen to Professor Caroline Humphrey from Cambridge University. She puts it so plainly. Researchers have never found a single piece of evidence for a society that actually ran on pure barter. Not one. It just didn't exist.
In fact, it gets even more interesting. The late, great anthropologist David Graeber pointed out that it's often the other way around. Barter doesn't come before money. A lot of the time, it actually shows up after money is a thing, like when a monetary system breaks down or when you have people who know what money is but just don't have it.
So, okay, if it wasn't barter, then what was it? What did early human economies actually look like? Well, the reality is a whole lot more social and way more complex.
The answer, it turns out, is something called a gift economy. See, instead of these one-and-done trades with total strangers, early societies were really held together by these complex webs of relationships, It was all about mutual support and long-term social debts.
Basically, and this is the key, the world's very first economies ran on credit. It wasn't about, I'll give you this for that right now. It was much more like, hey, here, take this. I can see you need it. And there was this unspoken understanding, right, that you'd do the same for me down the road. The whole system was built on I owe you one.
And this is where the archaeological evidence just blows the old story out of the water. Look at the earliest human financial tools. They weren't coins for buying stuff. They were systems for keeping track of all these social debts. Those tally sticks, they weren't cash, they were ledgers. And the original shekel in Mesopotamia? Not a coin. It was just a unit of account, a way to measure who owed what in barley.
So this forces us to completely rethink what we mean by early money. Those cacao beans the Maya and Aztec used, they weren't just ancient pocket change to avoid bartering. No, they were a way to manage social status, to track obligations. And all those cowrie shells, they weren't just a pretty, convenient currency. They were a standardized tool for managing these vast, continent-spanning networks of tribute and credit.
Okay, so you might be thinking, who cares? This is all just ancient history, right? Absolutely not. Busting this myth has huge implications for how we understand our economy, our society, and honestly, even ourselves, right here, right now.
Think about why that simple barter story is so popular. It's simple. It presents human economic life as this series of clean, impersonal trades. But by doing that, it just completely erases almost everything that actually makes an economy and a society work. And what are those missing pieces? All the really important stuff. Things like debt and credit and social trust, community bonds, power dynamics. The barter myth pretends the economy is this thing that exists in a vacuum, separate from society. But the truth is, it's always been deeply embedded right inside it.
And this is the crucial point.
Right here. The myth of barter isn't just some dusty old story about money. It's a story we tell about ourselves. It paints this picture of humans as being, by our very nature, just calculating, self-interested traders. We only interact to get something back. But what our actual history shows is that we are fundamentally social creatures, tied together by credit and mutual obligation.
And that is exactly why this all matters so much. Because if we understand that our economic DNA is actually built on credit and community and not on some anonymous dog-eat-dog exchange, it completely changes the conversation. It opens the door. It allows us to start imagining economic futures built on something other than just pure, isolated self-interest.
You see, understanding where we really came from frees us from the limits of a story that was never true in the first place. And it forces us to ask this really powerful question. If the whole story of money's beginning is wrong, if it was born not from barter but from social relationships, what does that mean for its future? What could its future look like? Now that's something to think about.